Today, in the second lecture, I wish to discuss kinds of shares, types of share capital, how the share capital is raised, and also what are the concepts of oversubscription, undersubscription. This is what I am going to discuss. Now, kinds of shares. What is share? That I have explained to you in my first lecture. A small unit of share capital identified by a company which is transferable from one member to another person in the society. That segment of share capital is known as share, that I have explained to you. In the previous session, I have already explained types of companies. Now today, I want to discuss kinds of shares. The bifurcation of shares on the basis of rights attached to it is known as preference share capital and share capital. It is known as classification of shares. Same way, if you want to go for classification of share capital, then as per companies law, classification of share capital is authorized share capital, issued share capital, subscribed capital, called up capital, paid up capital, reserve capital, which we are going to discuss. So if you are asked classification of shares, then preference share, equity shares. If you are asked classification of share capital, then authorized, issued, subscribed, etc. That I am going to discuss. After that, how this share capital is issued. Then, at last, I will be discussing oversubscription, undersubscription, etc. Now, let me start first of all, kinds of shares. The classification of shares on the basis of rights attached to share, then they are classified into two categories. One, preference share capital, second, equity share capital. Now, as you know, the person who contributes capital to the company uses that capital for the purpose of objects and business prescribed under the clauses of Memorandum of Association, and by applying funds for those purposes, company earns profit. Now, whatever the profit is earned by the company is distributed amongst members. Members get a return from company for their contributed capital from the annual profits. That return is known as dividend in the hands of equity shareholders. It is known as dividend in the hands of members. Now, the question is whether the rights as to the dividend, rights of dividend for the members, what are the various rights? Okay. Are they entitled to have a fixed rate of return from the profits of the company? The rate of dividend, rate of return on contributed capital, is it fixed or not? Now see, what happens? Company earns profit. Where there is a more profit, more dividend. Where there is a less profit, less dividend. Where there is no profit, no dividend. This is a normal return pattern. But the rights of members could be bifurcated on the basis of that. If the members are entitled to have a fixed rate of return on the capital contributed, and the other members who are not entitled to have a fixed rate of return on the capital contributed, then those who get a fixed rate of return on the capital contributed are known as preference shareholders, and those who are getting variable rate of return on the capital contributed, they are known as equity shareholders, equity share capital. So share capital is bifurcated into preference shares and equity shares. Now the fixed rate of return that is to be given to preference shareholders every year. Suppose in any year there is a profit and some dividend is given. In the second year there is more profit even then the fixed rate is given. In the third year there is no profit, no dividend could be paid. Now, will that unpaid dividend will be paid in the subsequent year when the profit occurs? The answer is yes. For such preference shareholders, then it is known as cumulative preference shares. But if the right of dividend, a fixed right of dividend for our preference shareholders do not exist in the years of loss, then those preference shares are known as non-cumulative preference shares. So preference share and equity shares on the basis of fixed right of return and variable right of return. Preference shareholders has a fixed right of return. And the right of return, does it cumulative? On that basis, preference shares are classified into cumulative and non-cumulative. Now another right that we consider, whether the capital is redeemable to the shareholder by a company during the existence of company. The answer is yes, then it is known as redeemable preference share. If the answer is no, equity shares are not redeemable. Just like preference shares, generally equity shares are redeemed at the time of liquidation of a company. Of course, nowadays the equity share could be redeemed by buyback, but we don't talk about that. But preference shareholders has a specific date where the preference shares are redeemable. So on the basis of that, preference share could be classified into two categories: redeemable preferences and irredeemable preferences. But nowadays, no preference shares are irredeemable. They have to be redeemed as per the provisions of the Companies Act by a maximum tenure of 20 years. So first, cumulative preference shares, non-cumulative, redeemable preference shares, non-redeemable preference shares. Then third type of preference shares. Now preference shareholders got a fixed rate of dividend, say 8%. After that, 15% dividend is paid to equity shareholders. After that, profit is left in the company. Can preference shareholders participate in a residual profit after giving prescribed dividend to equity shareholders? If such right is given to the preference shareholders, then those preference shares are known as participating preference shares. And if such right for distribution of residual profit is not granted to the preference shareholders, then they are known as non-participating preference shares. So preference shares classified on the basis of cumulative, non-cumulative, redeemable, irredeemable, participating, non-participating. Now the next point that we should consider, can we grant a preference shareholders a status of equity shareholders in future? If the answer is yes, then such preference shares are identified as convertible preference shares, and if no such status could be granted to the preference shareholders, then they are known as non-convertible preference shares. The convertible preference shareholders can have a right to have a status of equity shareholder in future at the date prescribed. If no such right is granted, then it is known as non-convertible preference shares. This is how classification of shares is done. So what is the peculiarity? Now, what is equity share? Any share other than preference share is known as equity share. So what are the peculiarities of equity share? Equity shareholders do not have a right of fixed annual dividend. If the more profit, they get more dividend. If the less profit, they get less dividend. In case of no profit, they don't get dividend. Okay. The another distinguishing point, that preference shares are redeemable. Equity shares are not redeemable as preference shares. Dividend could be accumulated, could be cumulative in case of preference shares. No accumulation of dividend can occur in case of equity share. Now see, one more point that you should understand. Who has got a first right of dividend? Preference shareholders have a preferential right of dividend. Preference shareholders have a preferential right for redemption of capital even in liquidation. No such right is granted to equity shareholders. So equity shareholders get the dividend after dividend is paid to preference shareholders. Equity share capital holder gets their capital back in the event of liquidation of a company after redeeming preference share capital. So these are the peculiarities of equity share capital. After describing all these types of types of shares, now I want to go for classification of share capital. In case of classification of share capital, first category is known as authorized share capital. The capital to which company is authorized under its memorandum of association to go for public for issue of shares. So the authority of company to issue maximum number of shares to the public as prescribed in the memorandum of association is known as authorized share capital. Out of that authorized share capital, some portion of the shares are issued to the public. So we have invited offers from public, applications from public to subscribe for the shares. If the number of applications received are less than number of shares issued, then the subscribed capital is less than issued capital. Now the subscribed capital, suppose a company has issued 10,000 shares, but the application is received for 9,500 shares, then subscribed capital is 9,500 shares. On 9,500 shares, suppose each share is of rupees 100 each. If company has called 75 rupees per share, then 75 per share is the called up capital. Now out of this called up capital, if few shareholders has paid against 75 called up only 50 rupees, then to the extent of 50 rupees, the amount has been received, and to the extent of 75 rupees received from the other shareholders, that becomes a paid up capital. The unpaid capital, though called, is known as calls in arrears, and the capital that could be called in the event of liquidation of a company is known as reserve capital. This is how classification of share capital is done, which we are going to learn in detail. After that, we are in how the share capital is raised. Now, what are the particular steps to be taken into consideration for raising the capital? For raising the capital, prior approval of the government is to be taken. After getting prior approval of after getting the prior approval of the government, we should prepare an offer document as prescribed by SEBI. After preparing offer document, that document should be vetted. We will discuss it. After that, company issues prospectus or statement in lieu of prospectus. On the basis of prospectus, in prospectus, we invite people to apply for the shares of the company. In light of prospectus, we receive the applications. With application, we receive the application money. The application money is to be placed in a separate bank account as prescribed. The application money should be minimum how much, that is also prescribed. After applications are received, those applications who are sanctioned, applicants whose applications are sanctioned, they are allotted shares, that is the next phase, allotment of shares. The amount is demanded at the time of allotment, and by that time, if the full face value is not yet called up, the amount will be demanded by demanding calls. So this is how, these are the steps with which the share capital is issued. That also we are going to discuss in this lecture. Over and above, we shall understand what is oversubscription, what is undersubscription, what is full subscription. If the number of applications received are more than issued share capital, it is known as oversubscription. If the number of applications received from the public are less than shares issued, shares offered, then it is known as undersubscription. We shall also understand what is minimum subscription as prescribed in the prospectus. Now let me start. Kinds of shares: preference shares and equity shares. Now what I have explained to you, I just write it and repeat it. The shares which enjoy the preferential right as to dividend and repayment of capital in the event of binding up of a company over the equity shares are called preference shares. So preference shares have a priority for payment of dividend annually. Preference shareholders have a priority for redemption of capital as against equity share capital in the event of binding up of a company, closure of a company. The holders of preference shares will get a fixed rate of dividend. The preference shareholders will get a fixed rate of dividend. They will get dividend in priority. They will get capital back in priority in the event of binding up. These are the special rights attached to a share, and such rights, the share with such rights is known as preference shares. Now I want to classify the preference shares. Cumulative preference shares. In any year, if the dividend could not be paid on preference shares because of insufficient profit or no profit, such dividend accumulates and is paid in the subsequent year in which the company earns sufficient profit. Such accumulated dividend is to be paid first, along with the dividend of that particular year, unless otherwise stated. Preference shares are cumulative preference shares. So company has to specify that these preference shares are non-cumulative. If not specified, they are always cumulative. If it is specified to be cumulative, then they are cumulative. So in the absence of any information, preference shares are presumed to be always cumulative. Now, as against this, preference shareholders shall acquire a right, the preference shareholders shall acquire a right to vote and right to take part in the event of resolution of the general meeting of shareholders if dividend remains unpaid for a period not less than 2 years. So if preference shareholders are not given dividend for 2 years, they will have a right to vote. Otherwise, they won't have a right to vote. Notice it. Non-cumulative preference shares. The preference shares are non-cumulative preference shares where right to dividend is lost for the year in which dividend is not declared by the company. So in case of insufficiency or profit or no profit, and the dividend is not declared, preference shares are not entitled to have a right to dividend for that year. Such preference shares are known as non-cumulative preference shares. Next classification. Redeemable preference shares. If preference shares are returned after a specified period to the holders, if the preference shares are returned after the specified period to shareholders, the preference shares are called redeemable preference. Redeemable preferences issued by a company with a stipulation to redeem after a fixed period, not more than 20 years or even earlier, at the discretion of the company, are known as redeemable preference shares. So if any preference share is issued for a period beyond 20 years, then also they are to be redeemed at 20 years or within 20 years. This is what company law requires. So all preference shares are nowadays redeemable. Preference shares which are not redeemable before the liquidation of the company are called irredeemable preference shares. All preferences and equity shares are always redeemable at liquidation. But before liquidation, if they are not redeemable, then they are identified as irredeemable preference shares. Non-redeemable preferences. According to section 85A, no company limited by shares shall issue irredeemable preference shares or preference shares redeemable after 20 years from the date of issue. So nowadays all preferences are redeemable provided it has been issued by a company limited by shares. Now next, participating preference shares. Here the preference shareholders are given fixed rate of dividend. Besides, they also have a right to share the profits arrived at after distributing a fixed rate of dividend to equity shareholders. Suppose that 8% dividend is given to preference shareholders. After that 15% dividend is given to equity shareholders. After that profit is left. Can preference shareholders have a right to have a share in that profit left after paying 15% equity dividend to the equity shareholders? If yes, then such preference shares are known as participating preference shares. Similarly, in the event of binding, a participating preference shareholders hold a right to receive the predetermined portion of the surplus of the assets left over the payment of capital contributed to the equity shareholders. In case of participating preferences, this is another right. In the event of liquidation, first of all outside creditors are paid. All outside liabilities paid. Debenture holders are also paid. Preference share capital is also paid. Equity share capital is also paid. Even then surplus is left. Does preference share have a right to share that surplus? If yes, then they are participating preference shares. If no, then they are non-participating preference shares. Non-participating preference shares are entitled only to a fixed rate of dividend and have no right to have a share in surplus of assets left after the payment of share capital in the event of winding up, and to have an additional share in a profit like participating preference shares over and above the fixed rate of dividend, and unless otherwise stated, preference shares are considered as non-participating preference shares. Unless otherwise stated, preference shares are considered as non-participating preference shares. Now, next, convertible preference shares. As per the terms and conditions, preference shares are convertible fully or partly into the equity shares after a fixed specified time interval, are known as convertible preferences. Here the status of preference shareholders changes to equity shareholders. Now, are preference shareholders allowed to have a status of equity shareholders? If yes, as per the issue terms and conditions, then they are known as convertible preferences, otherwise non-convertible preferences. Preferences which hold no right of conversion into equity shares are known as non-convertible preference shares. This is how I have discussed the types of shares, that in particular preference shares. Now I want to say about equity shares. Shares which are not preference shares are equity shares. It implies that the equity shares do not hold the preferential right for payment of dividend and repayment of capital in the event of winding up. So no right of prior payment of dividend, prior payment of capital in the event of winding up. Equity shares are attached with a voting right, and the Companies Act prohibits issue of equity shares with disproportionate right as to the dividend and voting. All equity shareholders have a uniform right of voting. All equity shareholders should have a uniform right of dividend. They have a total right on the remaining profit after giving the dividend at the fixed rate to preference shareholders, and at the time of liquidation of the company they have a full claim over the surplus left after redeeming all liabilities and the preferential capital. Such capital is known as principal capital, main capital, core capital, or equity capital. These are the various names of equity share capital. Now I want to go for classification of share capital. Types of share capital. Authorized share capital. It is the maximum amount of capital which company is authorized to raise by way of public subscription. This authorized share capital is always prescribed in a capital clause of memorandum of association, and the registration charges of company depends on the authorized share capital. A part of authorized share capital which is offered to the public for subscription is known as issued capital. Suppose that authorized share capital of the company is 10,000, out of that 8,000 shares are offered to the public, then issued capital is 8,000 shares. The part of the issued capital for which the applications are received from the public is known as subscribed capital. Now 8,000 shares are offered to the public, we have received application only for 7,500 shares. Then subscribed capital is known as 7,500. The part of the issued capital for which application has been received from the public is called subscribed capital. Now subscribed capital is 7,500 shares. The part of the subscribed capital which has been called up and demanded by the company is known as called up capital. Now 75,000 shares. Suppose that 7,500 shares are of 100 each. Company has demanded 70 rupees per share. Then 70 rupees per share is the called up capital. The part of the called up capital which is offered and actually paid by the members is known as paid up capital. Now out of all those members from whom we have demanded 70 rupees, few members have not paid 70 rupees, they have paid only 50 rupees. So the paid up capital is at the rate of 50 payment that has been received. And the amount that has been demanded but yet not paid is known as calls in arrears. Any unpaid amount of the balance of called up capital is known as unpaid call or calls in arrears. And the capital that could be demanded in the event of winding up of a company is known as reserve capital. It is a portion of uncalled capital which is called up only in the event of companies winding up, that is known as reserve capital. This is how share capital is classified, and it has to be reported in the balance sheet of a company with this classification. Now, next point that I want to discuss is public subscription of shares. How the capital is raised, what is the procedure? A public company cannot start a business on receipt of certificate of incorporation. It has to raise funds by issue of share capital. For this, company is required to seek the prior approval of the government for public issue of shares as required by the Security Exchange Board, prepare an offer document in accordance with the SEBI guidelines and other legal requirements, and submit the same to the SEBI. Only after getting the offer document by SEBI, company can make a public issue of shares. So these are the two basic requirements that has to be complied with before we go for issue of shares. After this compliance, now company can issue prospectus or statement in view of prospectus. With the help of prospectus, company invites applications from the public for the share capital that company intends to raise. Receive application in light of prospectus or announced. After applications are received, the applications are sanctioned and shares are allotted. And if the full amount could not be collected, after allotment dues are recovered, the calls, installments can be demanded. So demand calls on the shares allotted. So these are the basic steps. Now I want to discuss in detail from 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th in detail. Just observe. Offer document. In the offer document or proposal, the company has to disclose the number, type and issue price of shares. In the offer document, company has to disclose number of shares, type of share, issue price of shares. In addition to these details regarding the amount to be paid per share are also given as to whether the amount is to be paid or the amount is to be called up in installment. So how the payment is to be made with application, with allotment, with calls, everything is to be disclosed in this offer document. Issue of prospectus or statement in view of prospectus. By issuing a prospectus, public company invites the applications from the public to subscribe for the shares of the company. Prospectus is an invitation by a company to the public to purchase its shares. Details of prospectus relevant to issue of shares. Prospectus prescribes the date before which the application for the shares to be made. Prospectus mentions the number of shares issued, offered to the public, and the minimum subscription by the public for allotment of shares. These are the basic details. Fundamental details has been told to you. There are so many other details included in prospectus, but that is not at present in our scope, so I ignore. Now, in light of this prospectus, applications are received. Just observe. On the basis of prospectus, interested persons apply to acquire the shares on or before the closing date of issue, the last date filing the application. As prescribed in the prospectus, applications are made with application money. First amount is paid with application is called the application money, which may be full or part of the issue price. The amount to be called up with application cannot be less than 5% of the face value of the shares. However, as per the SEBI guidelines, minimum application money is to be paid by an applicant along with application money shall not be less than 25% of the issue price. The application money is received by a company's banker. The application money received by the company's banker along with application form and retained till shares are allotted. The banker has to retain the funds received with the application. The application money cannot be given to the company until allotment is made. So, those funds, application money received has to be maintained in a separate bank account, and it is to be maintained by the banker of a company as a trustee of applicants. The amount received by the share application cannot be retained by the company with itself, but it will be kept in a bank account opened with the scheduled bank for this purpose. Application can be made in a single name or a joint name, maximum up to 3 names. These are the prescribed norms for application. Now sanction the application and allotment of shares. Just read. Once all applications are received, company classify and arranges them properly and place in a meeting of board of directors. Board of directors decide allotment of shares in consultation with SEBI and stock exchange and shall allot shares if the minimum subscription as mentioned in the prospectus is received. Now minimum subscription is minimum number of offers, minimum number of applications that company must receive to start the business. So if the number of applications received are less than the minimum subscription as prescribed, all the application money has to be refunded and company could not be started. According to the scheme, minimum subscription as prescribed and prospectus has been received. According to the scheme of allotment approved, share allotment letters are sent to those applicants whose applications are accepted, and the letter of regret along with the refund of checks are sent to those whose applications are rejected. Now those applicants whose applications are sanctioned and allotted shares, they are issued allotment letter, and those applicants whose applications have been rejected, they are given the refund of their funds with letter of regret. The shareholders in the allotment letter are informed about the number of shares allotted to them, amount payable on allotment. If the total amount is not called with application, company is liable to pay interest at the rate of 15% per annum on the amount of refund in case of delay in refunding the application money. Those applicants whose applications are rejected, they need to be refunded in a prescribed time. If company refunds the money later than that, not in the time schedule, then company has to pay 15% interest on the unpaid application money for a period as prescribed. Now, demand calls on shares allotted. If the total amount is not called with application and allotment, the remaining amount of the part of it may be called from our shareholders who are allotted shares in 1 or 2 installments as per the requirements of the company by demanding calls. These are known as first call, second call and last call. Company can call such amounts in maximum 3 installments. So calls could be 3 at the most. Calls are made by the company as provided in the Articles of Association. The Companies Act 1956 require at least 1 month time interval between 2 calls. SEBI guidelines require that shares issued are made fully paid within 12 months from the date of allotment. The size of issue is up to 500 crores. Now this is how calls are demanded. Now I want to talk about subscription. Over subscription, under subscription and full subscription. When the public has subscribed for all the shares offered by the company for subscription, it is known as full subscription of the issue. Suppose a company has offered 1 lakh shares to the public and the public has applied for all 1 lakh shares, it is said that issue is fully subscribed. Over subscription, just read. where the number of shares subscribed for the public are more than the number of shares offered for subscription, issued for subscription. It is known as oversubscription of issue. Suppose a company has offered 2 lakh shares to the public for subscription, but the public has subscribed for 2,40,000 shares. It is said that issue is oversubscribed. Next, under subscription. When the number of shares subscribed for public are less than number of shares offered for subscription is known as under subscription. Suppose a company offered 2 lakh shares. Public has subscribed for 1,90,000 shares. It is known as under subscription. This is how types of shares, types of share capital, procedure for raising capital, and the relevant important terms have been discussed and explained. Initially they have been explained in brief. Then by bringing the necessary text, they have been explained in detail. I feel that you have followed all these things. Thanks to all of you.